And then last but not least, I'm going to have one equally contentious. I think that XRP will flip Ethereum this year.
Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. In today's call, we are going to be diving into a two-part session where first, I want to highlight some of the powerful commentary from respected voices in the crypto space that have recently been shared in our private CYPRX Discord from our researchers. These are insights that I personally believe that many are overlooking due to the past cycles and lingering skepticism that still surrounds the crypto ecosystem, especially when it comes to uneducated retail investors that aren't doing the right research because they're not a part of the right communities and focused on the long-term trajectory of this space. And then we're going to shift gears and we're going to analyze where we are currently standing in the form of fundamentals from a fundamental perspective as we approach the final 2 weeks of July. Because since the start of the month, we've really been buckling down. And I've been making publicly available some of our XRP delta zone analysis and fundamental analysis, showing the general public how accurate this community is. So we have been accurately tracking both price action and market drivers. And so in today's video, my goal is to keep you guys informed, to keep you guys educated, and to keep you guys engaged, combining institutional level fundamentals with technical analysis when they matter the most. And I'm going to show you guys how in this community, especially if you're new here, things that are available in our private community are not available elsewhere in the retail spectrum. So starting with this, and I do apologize in advance if the volume is slightly low on your end, you guys listening to this recording, because Zoom call doesn't allow you to share your screen to get audio. You have to play it from an external audio device. So I have to scoot my computer a little bit closer, but I want to start here on this post. And let me know here in a second if you guys can see my screen. Somebody just give me the little thumbs up button in the reaction tab. Or Kev, just give me a thumbs up. Can you see my screen? Okay. And so this is who we're going to be listening to today. I said here, and I'm going to play this video clip to kick it off. Actually, as a matter of fact, hold on. Let me stop sharing because on my end, it doesn't look like you guys can see my screen. So I just want to make sure the recording doesn't get jacked up. So just give me 2 seconds. Let me just make sure. Okay. You guys can see my screen now, right? Yeah, for some reason, Zoom's been doing that. So I want to give you guys a perspective right off the bat on the first few video clips of the individuals that we're going to be listening to, because I posted this on X where I said XRP will flip ETH. Now, after I played this video clip for you guys this rising, I really pondered on this. And albeit I've never openly stated this on X, and I've never been one of those influencers that's like, oh, and boasted this, like it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But it just sits different when it's coming from an individual that has credentials in the space that stems from an institutional background or an organization that helps institutions onboard into the digital asset ecosystem. So I said here in this post, this is not coming from some hype influencer. When leaders from Fidelity, Bitstamp, and Ripple speak, it is worth listening to. You have Chris, the VP of Fidelity Digital Assets, who has trillions of dollars of assets under management, speaking in this video. You have Neck or Neck, I don't know how to say that correctly, but NEJC, and his last name is kind of crazy too. He's the strategy head at Bitstamp, which is the top global exchange. And you also have Jack McDonald, SVP of Ripple, who was obviously, of course, a blockchain giant in this space. So these are not small players talking on this conversation. They are the individuals that are shaping the future of finance. And here they are telling you that the researchers have been right this entire time. So now that we're at an all-time high in terms of XRP's price action, it is still my firm belief that everybody needs to buckle down and focus, because I still firmly think that we're just getting started. Okay. So listen to what these individuals say here to kick this video breakdown off.
I think for 2025, this isn't just a 2025 year prediction, but we at Fidelity Digital Assets in our report wrote that we think it could be the start of a new era. So the turning from a lot of the first 15, 16 years of this, a lot of booms and busts, and now the new era of the institutional money And where really this as a technology breaks out of just its own silo and it permeates all kinds of other industries. So if you look back at world-changing industries, they don't just change their one industry, they change all industries, they change the way people communicate, the way people organize their companies and structure their capital. I think that's where we're finally starting to get to. Now, this is going to take decades to play out, but that's my bold prediction, my big high level one. And you can find all of our research at fidelitydigitalassets.com. And I am on X at Chris J. Kuiper.
Thank you, Chris. Well, Nate.
Yeah, I was just going back to the first point that Chris made. Obviously, I second Jack's thoughts on stable coins. I think definitely could be a year of Bitcoin. So you could see that, if we get a strategic reserve, you could really see this game theory, play out where you take this 2008 phenomenon basically from, out from the, it's going to be extremely interesting to watch if we get this strategic reserve basically and take a moment and think how far we've come, Bitcoin wise. Like it really could be a crazy year, I think. So I could, you could easily see going towards kind of a, that 10 trillion mark overall on digital assets. If it gets really, the animal spirit start flowing a little bit, and with the good, macro background, macro cocktail, you really can envisage that happening. This is kind of a very, I would say, a bullish thought, but yeah, why not? And then last but not least, I'm going to have one equally contentious. I think that XRP will flip Ethereum this year. And I've been getting a lot of heat for this.
Okay, now it's all fun and games and laughing jokes and stuff of that nature, but seriously, when the gentleman from Fidelity mentioned we're entering into a new era, if you go back just 3 years ago, and I know maybe some people weren't in this space that long ago, but it was extremely hard to actually find video material of institutions openly discussing and talking about wanting to get into this space, positively talking about this space, integrating it into their back-end infrastructure, into their core infrastructure, giving out price predictions, giving out, analysis of how high they think the market cap's going to go. The rhetoric has completely changed. And an individual with credentials, one of the things that they mentioned here that I want you guys to really pay attention to is the macro backdrop. He said, if we see a macro cocktail, the perfect macro cocktail, coupled with institutional interest, $10 trillion market cap is not out of the, non-expectation for this cycle, for this next cycle. And that's, of course, according to him. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is a crazy price prediction coming from somebody with credentials. So I think that we should listen in light of recent events, because we're starting to see the momentum really, truly build up. And it would behoove us to pay attention and be along for the ride, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So, and I don't think that this is going to be an easy ride. I still think that there's going to be some trials and tribulations that are going to face us, some headwinds that we're still going to have to get through. But if you are in the right community and you understand the market landscape day by day, week by week, and you understand, for example, if we see another $100 billion down day, instead of getting shaken out, selling too early, so on and so forth, you understand why the market's down. You look at that as an opportunity to build bigger positions or take profit or whatever the case may be. This is the community to do that in, no matter what approach that you're taking, whether it's day trading, dollar cost averaging, DeFi. This community has so many different approaches for you to stay ahead of the average retail investor. Another thing that we've been really focused on, and I want to show you guys people with credentials from organizations that and research and hold digital assets stemming from those organizations, are telling you guys this. So in this post, because myself, Aqua, and Kevin, this community are very heavily fixated on DeFi opportunities and educating ourselves on all the opportunities that we're going to have in the near future, I said here, banks create money out of nothing, then charge interest to spin the wheel. Meanwhile, the masses grind to earn what they print. The right to create money equals the right to leverage. And that leverage is what hoists them to the top of the pyramid, them being the central banks, the financial institutions, the large organizations that are in control of the money supply. But here's the shift. DeFi flips that script. No middleman, no gatekeepers, no hidden fees, just pure financial freedom on your terms. We asked the question the other day in the community, are you even mature enough in your investing career to become a bank? Right? Remember that? We talked about that in the other call. So with DeFi, you do become the bank. You mint your own assets, you earn interest, not pay it. You control your leverage, you access global 24/7 markets. The old system was rigged, and DeFi puts the power back where it belongs, and that is in your hands. And so if we come over here to this interview, which again is only uploaded from this year, only has 278 views, listen to what Jack McDonald from Ripple here says about how institutions are going to come into DeFi, right? So this is coming directly from somebody from Ripple. Don't take it from a researcher, take it directly from the source.
I think that, we look at already institutional adoption in crypto overall starting, of course. But how does this play in DeFi, and what are the drivers that are going to allow institutions to really engage into financial primitives on chain?
Well, I'll jump in here. I think one of the themes that we're going to see play out in 2025, and I echo a lot of Nate's comments, certainly around regulatory clarity. Sitting here in the U.S., there's a big tailwind right now behind us, which is very well received, and you're already seeing the action in there. But I do think you're going to see greater activity within the TradFi world coming into the crypto space broadly and DeFi specifically. Stablecoins are the perfect on and off ramp to that. It's a very logical, I think, next step, and the drumbeat keeps getting louder and louder around stablecoins within the TradFi world coming into the crypto space broadly and DeFi specific.
So I played that back because if you pay attention to Jack McDonald's vocabulary, he said he thinks TradFi institutions are going to come into the crypto ecosystem. And then he broke it down even further and said DeFi specifically. Okay. And so the reason why we're so focused here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club on DeFi is because the people who created the tech are the ones telling us that that's exactly what they think is going to bring the next wave of institutional adoption. Okay. And you can't make this up, right? I'm not just like speculating that this is happening. That's what they're telling us. So why avoid that? Okay. I think, again, so many people in the crypto ecosystem lack the education on putting their assets to work right now because they're still skeptical about it, when in reality, the institutions are like, yo, we're ready to go. Right? We're ready to go. We're about to get the green light in terms of regulation. And anybody that's not seeing that right now is still living in like 2022. It's 2025, y'all, right? Things are about to really ramp up, believe it or not, right? If we've waited this long, how many times throughout your career in crypto have you heard crap about XRP? And since we're on the topic, we'll just utilize that as bait. So many people were naysayers. So many people were this, so many people were that, knocking it. And now here we are in 2025, sitting at a new all-time high. I'm not sitting here saying that XRP price is going to go to $1,000, but this is material proof that the researchers were correct way back when the Ripple versus SEC case came into fruition. The ones that were telling you at the forefront, it's bullcrap. Don't pay attention to it. Don't get distracted. Focus on the research. The institutions are telling you what they're going to do. Now here we are, fast forward, and it's literally right in front of us. Okay. Now, to continue through the speculative effort on my behalf to put this information together for you guys, listen to what the gentleman from Fidelity says here about how people are underestimating what is about to unfold over the coming years, especially when sovereign wealth institutions and firms start to really pick up coming into this space. So we're going to go to 36 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to play it maybe about a 2 to 3 minute long clip, because he also, I don't remember what gentleman it is, they talk about how we're shifting from this world of proof of concepts, testing things, and now we're really starting to see utility adoption pick up. And we've talked about in this community how we believe we're going to enter into an era where, just like in the early days of the stock market, you could get Amazon stock for pennies on the dollar. And now, even if the stock market did a freaking 80% correction or even lost half of its value, you would never be able to buy Amazon stock at said price again back in the early 2000s like you could. And we're entering in that same time horizon now in crypto, where 16 years is enough for this ecosystem to really have shown maturity. It is. And now we're really starting to see institutions pick up interest, and you don't want to be sitting on the sidelines after they come in, thinking that before the institutions were here, the market cycle after they come is going to remain the same, because it's not. Nobody knows what that's going to look like. So for us to sit here and speculate on it like any of us do is honestly illogical, right? And that's why I don't. That's why I don't try to give huge price predictions, because who freaking knows? What I do know is what's driving the market sentiment the day of, what could possibly change the market sentiment that week, and we react to that accordingly. And if we continue to do that, I can almost guarantee you that to some degree, we will be a community that sits on the top of the totem pole after this transformative shift takes place. Whether that's in a year from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, if you have a long-term horizon and you make crypto a lifelong journey, you're here for the ride, and you should pay attention to these things. So listen to what this gentleman here says.
Back especially on Bitcoin, the runes and inscriptions and stuff like that will be a fad. So those spiked, especially with the halving, and we don't think they're coming back, although it'll probably be something new or different. But in terms of maybe what's overlooked, I don't think this is going to go wrong, but what's overlooked is, I've been saying this for a while, is I don't think people are understanding or correctly estimating the amount of demand we could see for digital assets, especially now that we have the exchange traded products in the US, from the advisor side of things. So in the US especially, most of the money is advised money. It's not, we definitely have individual do-it-yourself investors, but a lot of the big pots of money are advised. So most of our wealth is advised, and that's anywhere from a 50 to 100 plus $1 trillion market, depending on how you want to count it. And we're barely off the starting line. These products are starting to be available. Some places they're still not even available. Many large advisors and wirehouses cannot actively solicit or recommend these products. They have to have people ask for them. They're not yet making their way into model portfolios or allocations or anything like that. So you can say this and it sounds kind of cliche, like you're underestimating this. People say like, yeah, okay. But when you start running the numbers, if even a percent of these advisors and advised money start to allocate a few percentage points into this new asset class, you start to get some really big demand numbers that I think people are underestimating.
So before I think it's Jack McDonald who talks next about the utility aspect of this cycle that this gentleman from Fidelity is mentioning, there's literally no money in terms of institutional money on a granular financial scale really in crypto. He literally said we're at ground level zero, pretty much at, what are we sitting at, 3.8 trillion. So pretty much 4 trillion. We'll round it off to that. Okay. And then he even mentioned, people think it's kind of cliche to say you're underestimating how much money could possibly come, or the demand that could pick up for this space, this new asset class. But think about that. That is coming from somebody who deals with, people's freaking retirement portfolios in the, I would just go out and assume that there's probably some billionaire out there that has $1 billion portfolio or a multi-million-dollar portfolio sat in Fidelity that trusts this organization. And you have the gentleman that works there saying this. Okay. So it's like, you really have to start to pick up pieces of the puzzle and understand it's still going to take some time, but look at where we're really at and what you're involving yourself in. And you could really, truly, if you do have enough in this space, change your family bloodline if you take the right precautions to protect, preserve, and grow that wealth as this is all happening. Okay. It's not just going to be I'm going to download Coinbase, freaking buy dollar cost average and hodl and change my family bloodline. No, this is going to take active participation. You're going to have to rebalance your portfolio, readjust things, react to certain market conditions. Maybe you're invested in a project right now that doesn't last during the consolidation phase, if we witness one of those things, and you have to adjust that capital allocated to that project into a new one, right? Maybe you're in a DeFi protocol and that DeFi protocol gets exploited and you have to figure out what to do with that capital or how to get that capital back. Again, this is going to take active management and those people that are active and understand the shifting tides and what to pay attention to, how to allocate properly, when to adjust their portfolios, when to go risk on, when to go risk off. Those are going to be the people that survive. That is this community, right? We have the numbers, we have the credentials, and we have the people in terms of you guys, the students, showing us those results, right? I have literally a folder on my computer right now of hundreds of reviews of CYPRX that I haven't even shown to the general public yet, of people saying, I made this amount of money. I did this. Thank you for this, right? Because we're not here to brag or boast. We're here to show results. And that's exactly what we're doing. And it is because we're locked into the people that matter. So listen to Jack McDonald. This is the last video clip that I'll play of this portion of the segment where he talks about this utility phase on the horizon.
What about you, Jack?
I think I share that view. I think more and more utility is going to come into the market. I do think you're going to see more traditional investors and a new cadre of investors coming into the market. And so to answer your question of what may not work on a relative basis, and I'm on the older end of the spectrum in this industry, so maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned, but I don't think you're going to see the meme coin mania this year, in part because I just think that the opportunity set for high-quality digital assets is going to continue to increase, and I think the demand is going to go in that direction. There's always going to be folks who want to speculate in the more kind of esoteric long-tail assets, but I think on a relative basis, my money would go in the more kind of upmarket, if you will, types of digital assets that are increasingly available than on the meme coin side.
So Jack McDonald pretty much right there just said that he would rather park his money into utility-driven blue chip assets rather than meme coins and speculative assets that don't really do jack for the global economy, right? Sounds like something that a researcher's been saying to you guys for the past like freaking 5 years. I know I have. So that's the last clip that I wanted to play for you guys. Again, I always just like to show people with valid credentials. You see now why I'm so focused on DeFi, because the people who invented the technology of the digital assets that I freaking hold, to some degree, again, have their hand in it, are telling us this, right? That institutions, the next wave is probably going to be driven by DeFi. And it's even mirrors something that David Schwartz at Apex in 2025 said. I'm not going to play the video for you guys. I don't have it pulled up. But myself and Aqua played that on a previous live where David Schwartz at Apex during his interview specifically was asked the question, what do you think is going to bring the next wave of institutions? And he said, real world asset tokenization, fractionalized ownership, yield generation.
Market.
From a technical perspective, what needs to happen for us to get there?
I think the big thing is being able to support things like tokenized real world assets, portfolios of loans, fractional ownership, all of the sort of complexities around the real world holding of assets. If we can do that, then I think we can compete with TradFi, and that's that's a multi-trillion-dollar market. It's hundreds of times the current DeFi market.
DeFi primitives, being able to put the liquidity to work. Okay, that's coming from the horse's mouth himself. So that's it for the first portion of today's video breakdown.